Dr. Hana stepped off the transport ship and immediately felt the crushing weight of Earth's gravity. Her slender frame, adapted to the gentle pull of her homeworld, struggled under the pressure that humans lived with every day. She activated her exo-support system, wincing as the machinery whirred to life. "First time on Earth?" a voice called out. She turned to see a human man approaching with an easy smile. He wore a simple jacket with a patch reading Earth Tourism Bureau and carried 2 cups of steaming liquid. "I'm June," he said, extending one of the cups to her. "Your guide for the next 3 months." Hana's senses flashed warning signals as she analyzed the drink. "This contains caffeine," she said, her translator struggling to keep the alarm from her voice. "That's a neurotoxin." June laughed and took a large gulp from his own cup. "That's why it's so good. Helps us wake up in the morning." Hana carefully set the cup down. The Galactic Tourism Bureau's warning manual had been clear. Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest danger rating possible. No other inhabited planet in the known universe bore such a designation. Most species evolved in gentle environments, with stable climates and minimal threats. Humans, by contrast, had developed on a planet seemingly designed to kill them. "Your file says you're here to study our tourism industry," June asked, finishing his toxin-laced drink without any apparent side effects. "Yes, Earth has become the fastest-growing tourist destination in 3 sectors, despite the danger warnings. My research will examine why aliens are suddenly so interested in visiting a planet that could kill them." June shrugged. "It's just home to us. Nothing special." They walked through the spaceport, passing aliens of various species all wearing protective gear, environmental suits, gravity compensators, radiation shields. The humans, by contrast, wore simple clothes as they moved easily through their natural habitat. "I've arranged a tour of Seoul today," June said, checking his wrist device. "Then tomorrow we'll fly to New Zealand to observe the adventure tourism operations." Hana's research team had spent months preparing her for this mission. She'd undergone cellular reinforcement, immune system boosters, and psychological conditioning. Still, nothing had truly prepared her for the reality of standing on a world where the very air contained microorganisms that could potentially kill her. "Is it always this heavy?" she asked, adjusting her exo-support again. "The gravity? You'll get used to it," June replied, though his expression suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. "Most visitors do. Eventually." They exited the spaceport into the open air. Hana gasped at the unfiltered sunlight, harsh radiation that humans somehow tolerated. In the distance, tall buildings rose toward the sky, defying the gravitational pull that strained her muscles. Their vehicle, a simple ground transport, took them through bustling streets. Hana watched in fascination as humans moved about without any apparent concern for the countless dangers surrounding them. Children played in parks, exposing themselves to countless pathogens. Elderly humans walked unassisted despite the crushing gravity. "My research indicates that over 60% of Earth's surface is covered in a corrosive liquid you call water," Hana said, consulting her datapad. "And yet humans intentionally immerse themselves in it." June laughed again. "We call that swimming. It's fun. You should try it while you're here." The very suggestion made Hana's protective membranes contract in fear. Fun? On her world, the concept of voluntary danger didn't exist. As they toured the city, Hana recorded everything. Humans consuming food containing chemicals that would be considered toxic on civilized worlds, vehicles moving at speeds that could cause fatal injuries upon impact, buildings constructed of materials that could collapse under the right conditions. "And those?" she asked, pointing to small creatures moving alongside the humans on thin tethers. "Dogs. Pets. You know, companions." "Predatory companions," Hana noted, observing the sharp teeth visible when one of the creatures opened its mouth. "Descended from pack hunters, according to my data." June just shrugged. "They're mostly harmless now. My family has 3. As the afternoon progressed, dark clouds gathered overhead. Hana's sensors detected atmospheric pressure changes and increasing electrical activity. "We should return to the spaceport," she said urgently. "My instruments indicate a severe weather event approaching." "Just a thunderstorm," June replied, though he did glance at the sky with mild concern. But maybe we should find somewhere to wait it out. There's a good restaurant nearby. Before they could change course, the sky flashed with brilliant light, followed by a sound that made Hannah's sensory organs nearly shut down in defense. Lightning, pure electrical discharge, tore through the atmosphere, striking somewhere nearby. Hannah froze in terror. Electrical storms! We must seek proper shelter immediately. To her astonishment, the humans around them merely opened small protective devices. Umbrellas, June called them, as water began falling from the sky. They continued walking, seemingly unconcerned by the deadly electrical discharges happening overhead. It's just rain, June said, opening his own umbrella and offering it to share. Happens all the time here. Hannah couldn't process this casual attitude toward conditions that would trigger planetary evacuation protocols on any civilized world. Water falling from the sky, electricity blasting between clouds, and humans simply walking through it as if it were nothing. As they hurried toward a nearby building, Hannah understood something fundamental about her research. Earth wasn't just dangerous by cosmic standards. It was unimaginably lethal. And yet humans had not only survived here but thrived, building civilizations and technologies while surrounded by constant threats. Perhaps this was why aliens were suddenly so drawn to this deadly planet, not despite its dangers, but because of them, and because of the remarkable species that called such a nightmare world home. The morning sun glittered across Bondi Beach as Hannah watched a group of Kalarian tourists struggle into what humans called wetsuits. Their six-limbed bodies contorted awkwardly as their guides helped them prepare for their first surfing lesson. Despite their environmental protection suits underneath, the aliens shivered, not from cold, but from anticipation mingled with fear. "I don't understand," Hannah said to June, who stood beside her wearing only swimming shorts. "These waves contain thousands of microorganisms that would dissolve Kalarian protective membranes. Even with suits, they're risking severe cellular damage." June squinted against the bright sunshine. "It's just water, maybe a bit of seaweed and some fish." "And box jellyfish," Hannah added. "My research indicates they're among the most venomous creatures in the galaxy." "Oh, those aren't in season right now," June said with a casual wave. "Besides, the lifeguards keep an eye out for them." Hannah's recording device whirred softly as she documented the scene. After 2 weeks on Earth, she was still struggling to comprehend human recreational activities. The concept that a species would voluntarily expose themselves to danger for fun remained baffling. "Look at them go," June pointed excitedly as one of the Kalarians managed to stand briefly on a surfboard before tumbling into the churning water. The alien emerged moments later, all 6 limbs waving in what Hannah recognized as their species' gesture for extreme excitement. "They're enjoying this?" she asked. "Course they are. That's why they paid so much to come here." A small crowd had gathered to watch the alien surfing lesson. Human children pointed and giggled as the visitors wiped out repeatedly. Yet despite their failures, the Kalarians seemed increasingly enthusiastic with each attempt. Later that day, their research took them to a small ship that ferried tourists to the Great Barrier Reef. Hannah watched in disbelief as visitors from 5 different star systems plunged into open water, equipped with nothing but thin suits and breathing apparatus. "Those Muratoria are from a desert planet," she noted, watching the lizard-like beings splash awkwardly. Their species evolved without ever encountering large bodies of water. This environment is completely foreign to their biology. "That's the point," said a voice behind them. Hannah turned to see a group of tall, blue-skinned aliens approaching, Arcturians known throughout the galaxy as cultural theorists and diplomats. "I'm Ambassador Neil," the tallest one said. "My team is here studying the Earth tourism phenomenon as well. Our findings have been surprising." June offered them drinks from a cooler, more of the strange Earth custom of constant consumption, which the Arcturians accepted with practiced ease. "What's surprising about it?" June asked. "People come, they see stuff, they go home." Ambassador Neil's inner eyelids fluttered in amusement. "What's surprising is that your species has turned what should be terrifying into entertainment. Take this reef tour. On any other world, deliberately entering an environment filled with unknown creatures would be considered insanity. But it's just swimming, June protested. Kids do it. Exactly, another Arcturian chimed in. Human children routinely survive conditions that would kill adult members of other species. It's fascinating. The following week, Hana's research took them to the mountains of what humans called Switzerland. Here, the horror continued as she watched aliens strap smooth boards to their feet and hurl themselves down frozen precipitation at speeds that could shatter bones on impact. They call this skiing, Hana narrated into her recorder. Despite multiple warnings about the dangers of rapid descent, cold exposure and collision, the waiting list for alien participants extends 6 Earth months. Nearby, a group of round, gelatinous beings, wobulons, were being fitted with specially designed ski equipment. Their natural form had no limbs or solid structures, requiring elaborate harnesses to maintain shape during descent. Their home planet has no solid ground, Hana whispered to June. It's entirely liquid gas. They have no concept of falling as we understand it. June shrugged. Everyone falls their first time skiing. It's part of learning. But why learn at all? What purpose does sliding down frozen water serve? Before Joan could answer, a commotion erupted as one of the wobulons began its descent, its transparent body jiggling wildly as it picked up speed. Rather than terror, the being emitted the high-pitched tones that indicated joy in its species. See? They love it, June said. The scene repeated at every destination on their research tour. In New Zealand, alien tourists paid small fortunes to be sealed in transparent spheres and rolled down hillsides. Zorbing, the humans called it. In Costa Rica, species that had evolved in darkness willingly zip-lined through forest canopies under the harsh sun. In Norway, beings from warm planets plunged into ice-cold water through holes cut in frozen lakes. I think I understand now, Ambassador Neal said when they reunited at an extreme tourism facility in Colorado. They watched as a group of delicate, crystalline beings prepared to go whitewater rafting down swollen rapids. What do you understand? Hana asked. For most species in the galaxy, life evolved on gentle worlds, stable climates, minimal predators, predictable environments. Safety was the driving force of evolution. The Arcturian gestured toward a human guide demonstrating safety procedures. But humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Your entire species exists because you overcame constant danger. June listened with growing interest. This was the first explanation that seemed to make sense of the alien fascination with Earth. So tourists come here because, he prompted. Because every other world feels too safe, another Arcturian explained. Predictable, boring. On Earth, visitors can experience controlled danger, the thrill of survival without the actual risk. Of species extinction that humans faced, Hana watched as the crystalline beings, who could literally shatter under impact, launched their raft into churning waters. Their musical cries of excitement echoed across the river canyon. So they're not crazy, June mused. They're just bored? Precisely, Ambassador Neal said. Your casual relationship with danger is the most exotic thing in the galaxy. What you consider ordinary recreation, we see as breathtaking bravery. As they continued observing, Hana noticed June's expression changing, understanding dawning as he watched his world through alien eyes. For the first time, he seemed to grasp just how extraordinary human resilience appeared to the rest of the galaxy. I guess I never thought about it, he admitted quietly. When you grow up on a world that's trying to kill you, you either learn to have fun with it, or you hide inside forever. A sudden cheer went up as the crystalline beings successfully navigated a particularly dangerous rapid. None had shattered. All were vibrating with what their species experienced as intense pleasure. And humans, Hana noted, never chose to hide. The floor trembled beneath their feet as Hana and June toured the San Francisco Science Museum. At first, Hana thought it might be some kind of interactive exhibit, until she saw the genuine concern flash across June's face. Earthquake, he said simply, looking up at the swaying lights. Before Hana could process this information, chaos erupted among the alien tourists. A group of tall, spindly Vexians began a high-pitched alarm call, their eye stalks vibrating in distress. The gelatinous morans began rapidly changing colors, their equivalent of screaming. Even the usually stoic Drakari diplomats activated their emergency shield bubbles. But the humans? They just stopped walking. Some looked mildly annoyed, checking their communication devices or glancing at their watches. A museum guide calmly announced over the speaker system, "We're experiencing a minor seismic event. Please remain where you are until it passes." The shaking intensified for about 20 seconds during which Hana's exo support system worked overtime to keep her upright and then gradually subsided. Is it over?" she asked, her voice translator unable to hide her. "Tremor. Just a small one," June said with a shrug. "Maybe 4.0, nothing to worry about." "Nothing to worry about?" Hana repeated in disbelief. The ground moved. The entire planet shifted beneath our feet. A small human child nearby giggled at her reaction. "It's just an earthquake," the little boy said. "We have them all the time." This casual dismissal of planetary instability struck Hana as profoundly revealing. That evening, she changed the focus of her research. Earth tourism wasn't just about the dangerous activities, it was about the species that had evolved to survive them. In her hotel room, Hana accessed the Galactic database, requesting detailed information on human physiology. What she discovered left her astounded. "June," she said the next morning as they met for breakfast, "did you know your skeletal system can repair itself?" He looked up from his plate of fried eggs, bird embryos cooked in liquefied fat, another terrifying Earth food. "Well, yeah, doesn't everyone's? Doesn't?" "No. Most species require medical intervention or replacement parts if their support structures are damaged. But humans, you just heal. Broken bones, sure, they heal. Takes a while, though." Hana spent the next week investigating every aspect of human biology she could access. She interviewed medical professionals, visited research facilities, and compiled data that seemed almost too extraordinary to be true. At a university laboratory, Dr. Minho showed her microscopic images of human blood fighting off pathogens. "Your immune system," Hana said in wonder. "It attacks thousands of different invaders simultaneously." "Millions, actually," Dr. Minho corrected. "We're constantly at war with microorganisms. Our bodies fight them off without us even noticing most of the time." "And pain," Hana continued, reviewing her notes. "Humans can modulate their pain response. You can choose to ignore it." "Not exactly choose," Dr. Minho explained. "But yes, in emergencies, humans can override pain signals to deal with immediate threats. Mothers have lifted vehicles off trapped children. Injured climbers have walked miles on broken legs to reach safety." Each discovery led to more questions. Humans could survive extreme temperature variations that would kill most species. They could go without water for days when necessary. They could adapt to altitude changes that would cause brain damage in other oxygen-breathing species. But the most remarkable thing, Hana told June as they walked through Golden Gate Park, is something called hormesis. "Never heard of it," June admitted. "It's the biological principle that some amount of stress actually makes you stronger. When humans exercise, you deliberately damage your muscles, so they rebuild stronger. You expose yourselves to pathogens in small amounts, so your immune system learns to fight them. You even expose yourselves to radiation in controlled amounts to build tolerance." June considered this. "I guess that makes sense. Like calluses on your hands from work or getting tougher by facing challenges. But don't you see how extraordinary that is?" Hana pressed. "Every other species in the galaxy evolved to avoid stress, to seek safety and stability. Humans are the only known species that deliberately seek out stress to become stronger." When Hana's preliminary findings were uploaded to the Galactic Scientific Network, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Researchers from 100 worlds requested access to her data. Medical specialists began booking flights to Earth to observe human physiology firsthand, and the tourism industry exploded. 3 weeks later, Hana and June stood at the edge of a vast compound in the Arizona desert. Hundreds of aliens in environmental suits were participating in what humans called a survival camp. They built shelters, made fire using primitive tools, and learned to identify edible plants, All activities that humans had once needed simply to stay alive. "They're paying 10,000 credits for this?" June asked, watching a Floraxian struggle to strike two stones together. "The waiting list is 6 months long," Hana confirmed. "The Great Deathworld experience is now the most exclusive. Vacation package in 3 sectors. Nearby, a human instructor was teaching a group of silicon-based life forms how to bandage wounds. The aliens had no blood, but they practiced the skill with solemn dedication." "It's not just the activities," Hana explained as they observed. "It's the mindset. The psychology of humans is perhaps your most remarkable adaptation." That evening they attended a presentation by a team of quantum psychologists who had been studying human mental resilience. "The human brain," the lead researcher explained to the packed auditorium, "has evolved to find pleasure in the very things that should cause terror. They call it fun when they narrowly avoid death. They say it's exciting to stand at the edge of great heights. They deliberately seek out experiences that trigger their fear responses, and then they celebrate having survived them." Images flashed on the screen: humans bungee jumping, riding roller coasters, watching horror films, competing in dangerous sports. "This psychological adaptation," the researcher continued, "allowed humans to not just survive their death world, but to thrive on it, to explore it, to conquer it." After the presentation, Hana found June standing alone, looking thoughtful. "You knew all this about humans," she said, "but you never realized how unique it was." He nodded slowly. "I guess when it's just normal life, you don't think about it. We're just us. You're the species that evolved on a planet that tried to kill you every day," Hana said, "and instead of just surviving, you learned to enjoy the challenge." A notification chimed on Hana's datapad. The Galactic Tourism Bureau had just updated Earth's classification. It remained a Class 12 death world, but with a new designation: Heritage Biological Preserve, Home of Adaptive Resilience. As they walked back to their transport, Hana noticed June smiling. "What?" she asked. "I was just thinking," he said. "Tomorrow we're scheduled to visit that new roller coaster park. Want to give it a try? Might be interesting research." Hana's protective membranes fluttered in alarm. "Deliberately expose myself to simulated death experiences for entertainment?" "Exactly," June grinned. "Now you're getting it." The small village had once been a quiet place where fishermen mended their nets and children played in dusty streets. Now the coastal hamlet in Thailand bustled with activity, as alien tourists in protective suits wandered through what the brochures called an authentic human settlement experience. Hana watched as a family of rock-skinned granulites paid a local woman 300 credits, more than a month's salary in many Earth economies, to show them how to weave a simple basket. 2 years ago she was struggling to feed her family, June explained, nodding toward the woman. Now she's one of the wealthiest people in the village. Everywhere Hana looked, she saw the transformation. Humble homes had been preserved in their primitive state, though now with hidden modern conveniences to accommodate wealthy visitors. Locals demonstrated survival skills like cooking over open flames, repairing simple tools, or tending to farm animals, activities their ancestors had performed out of necessity, now packaged as exotic entertainment. Human guides are the highest paid profession in the galaxy now, Hana noted, consulting her datapad. The waiting list for certified Earth experience guides is over 2 years long. My cousin quit his engineering job to lead extreme hiking tours, June said. He makes 10 times his old salary showing aliens how to climb mountains and sleep in tents. They stepped aside as a tour group passed, led by a cheerful young woman explaining the dangerous predators native to the region. The aliens listened, with rapt attention, recording every word about creatures that humans had simply learned to avoid or control. The Earth Tourism Bureau reports that revenue has increased by 500% in just 1 year, Hana continued. Remote areas that were previously economically depressed are now unable to keep up with demand for authentic Deathworld experiences. As they walked through the village market, Hana's attention was drawn to a commotion near one of the stalls. A group of tall insectoid aliens had backed away from their shopping, their translator units emitting distress sounds. At the center of the group, A small, eight-legged creature crawled across a table displaying local crafts. Spider, one of the aliens clicked urgently. Venomous predator. Before any adults could react, a small human child, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, calmly approached the table. With bare hands, the little girl scooped up the spider, walked to the edge of the market, and gently placed it in a bush. All gone, she announced simply, then skipped back to her mother. The alien tourists stood frozen in shock. One of them activated a recording device, capturing the moment when the child returned, and continued looking at the handcrafted items as if nothing unusual had happened. That video will be viral across the galaxy by tomorrow, June predicted. Fearless human child handles deadly predator with bare hands. Was it actually dangerous? Hannah asked, her own species being particularly vulnerable to neurotoxins. That? No, just a garden spider, completely harmless. But the aliens don't know that. Exactly. Later that day, they visited what had once been a simple beach on a remote island. Now it was Extreme Survival Resort Alpha, where aliens paid astronomical sums to sleep in structures made of local plant materials, eat food cooked over open flames, and learn to navigate by stars instead of technology. This suite costs more per night than most luxury apartments on Centauri Prime, Hannah noted, examining the pricing structure, and it's literally a wooden hut with no climate control. It's all about the experience, June explained. They're not paying for comfort. They're paying to temporarily live like humans, to feel what it's like to survive on a Deathworld. As they continued their tour, Hannah began to notice signs of strain beneath the economic boom. Near the resort's boundaries, local protesters carried signs reading "Earth is not a zoo," and "Our culture is not your entertainment." In the staff quarters, human employees spoke in hushed tones about the changes to their communities. Some celebrated the unprecedented wealth flowing into formerly impoverished regions. Others mourned traditions now performed for alien cameras, rather than passed down with original meaning. Environmental impacts were becoming evident too. Despite regulations, the influx of visitors was taking a toll on fragile ecosystems. Hannah's sensors detected unusual chemical signatures in the water, byproducts of alien protective suits and the specialized foods they required. That evening, as they waited for the tourism shuttle that would take them to their next destination, Hannah found June sitting alone on the beach, watching the sunset. "You seem troubled," she observed. He nodded slowly. "It's strange seeing your home through someone else's eyes. Things I never thought twice about are suddenly fascinating or terrifying to others." "Like what?" "Like this." He picked up a handful of sand and let it sift through his fingers. "On your world, is there anything like this? Billions of tiny rock fragments that get everywhere, irritate your skin, but somehow feel pleasant between your toes?" Hannah considered this. "No, nothing like it. Most worlds have solid ground or fluid surfaces. Earth seems to have infinite variations of everything. We never knew how strange we were until we saw ourselves through alien eyes," June admitted. "We just thought we were normal." "There's no such thing as normal in the galaxy," Hannah said. "But humans are certainly unique. Your adaptability is unmatched." June laughed softly. "Adaptability. That's a nice way of saying we evolved on a planet that tried to kill us at every turn, so we got tough." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the shuttle, a sleek vessel designed to transport tourists between Earth's many authentic experiences. They boarded along with 30 aliens of various species, all chattering excitedly about their next destination, a volcanic region where they would witness the planet's molten core breaching the surface. As the shuttle rose into the evening sky, Hannah continued her observations, noting the careful way human staff attended to the special needs of each alien species. Where once humans had been considered a curiosity in galactic society, tolerated but not particularly valued, they were now sought after for their unique skills and perspective. "The economic shift has been remarkable," she narrated into her recorder. "Humans who were once struggling to find work in the galactic community are now—" A sudden lurch cut off her words. The shuttle shuddered, emergency lights flashing across the cabin. The pilot's voice came over the communication system, tight but controlled. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Please secure yourselves in your safety harnesses. The calm in his voice struck Hana as remarkable given the violent shaking of the vessel. Around them, alien tourists began emergency protocols, some entering protective hibernation, others activating personal shields. June simply tightened his harness and braced his feet against the floor. "Is this normal?" Hana asked, her voice rising, with alarm as the shuttle began to lose altitude. "Mechanical failures. They happen," June replied with unnerving steadiness. "The pilot knows what to do." But even as he spoke, the shuttle lurched again, more violently this time. Through the viewport, Hana could see they were no longer following their programmed course. Below them stretched the vast blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean. "Ocean emergency protocol," the pilot announced, his voice still remarkably calm. "Brace for water landing." As the shuttle plummeted toward the dark water, Hana's last thought before impact was that this, too, was quintessentially Earth, a place where disaster could strike at any moment and where humans had learned to face it with steady nerves and the calm expectation of survival. Cold water rushed into the shuttle as the emergency doors blew open. The impact had been violent but controlled, the pilot somehow managing to keep the craft intact as it hit the ocean's surface. Now water poured in, dark and relentless. Hana's exo-support system flashed urgent warnings. Toxic liquid immersion imminent. System failure in 4 minutes. Around her, alien passengers activated emergency protocols. The Vexians inflated their suspension bubbles. The mineral-based Patroxians went into protective hibernation, their bodies hardening into rock-like shells. The few species adapted to liquid environments were already helping others, but their movements were slow, cautious, hampered by unfamiliar conditions. And then there were the humans. June had already unbuckled his harness and was helping a panicking Florian, whose tendrils had become tangled in debris. The flight attendants moved through rising water with practiced efficiency, prioritizing the most vulnerable passengers. The pilot emerged from the cockpit, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead, yet he calmly directed the evacuation. "Life. Rafts deploy automatically," he shouted over the chaos. "Move toward the exit ports in an orderly fashion." What happened next would be forever seared into Hana's memory banks. As the shuttle listed to one side, several alien passengers became trapped in a section where water was rising fastest. Without hesitation, 3 human crew members dove beneath the surface into liquid that Hana's sensors identified as a solution of sodium chloride, toxic to most galactic species. The humans stayed under for impossible lengths of time, working to free the trapped passengers. One by one, aliens were passed through the emergency exits to waiting life rafts. When Hana's turn came, strong hands guided her through the narrow opening and into the open air. Her exo-support system sputtered and sparked as it struggled to maintain function after exposure to salt water. The Pacific Ocean stretched in every direction, dark waves rising and falling beneath a cloudy sky. The shuttle was now half submerged, its systems failing as Earth's corrosive ocean claimed it. Scattered across the water's surface were a dozen bright orange life rafts, each crowded with shivering aliens. "Our emergency beacon is active," one crew member announced. "Rescue should arrive within the hour, an hour exposed to Earth's elements." Hana's system calculated her chances of survival at 64.3%, assuming no additional variables like weather deterioration or predator activity. Yet the humans seemed unconcerned. They moved between rafts, checking on passengers, administering first aid, distributing emergency supplies. They did this without protective gear, their thin skin exposed to wind and water spray, their bodies fighting to maintain heat in conditions that would kill most species within minutes. Most remarkable was a young woman, barely more than a girl by human standards, who kept spirits up by singing something she called sea shanties. Her voice carried across the water, somehow making this disaster seem like just another Earth adventure. When rescue finally arrived, large vessels and aircraft converging on their location with impressive speed, Hana witnessed another display of human capability. Rescue workers dove from helicopters into churning water. Others operated complex machinery in conditions that should have made precision impossible. They worked tirelessly, beyond what seemed like reasonable physical limits, until every passenger was safely aboard the rescue ships. 3 days later, Hannah woke in a hospital room. Her exo support system had been repaired and upgraded with better waterproofing. "Just in case," the technician had said with a wink. "How are you feeling?" asked a familiar voice. June sat in a chair beside her bed, his arm in a simple cast. His only concession to what her data showed had been a compound fracture during the rescue operations. "You broke your support limb," she said, her translator still calibrating. "My arm, yeah. Happened when I was helping that big rock guy into the life raft. He was heavy. Yet you continued rescue operations with a broken bone." June shrugged his good shoulder. Everyone was helping, couldn't just sit there. This, Hannah realized, was perhaps the most profound discovery of her research. Not just that humans could perform extraordinary feats in emergency situations, but that they considered such actions normal, expected, basic civic duty. Over the next week, as she recovered and completed her research, Hannah organized her findings into what would become the most comprehensive analysis of Earth tourism ever compiled. She recorded her final observations from the garden of the hospital, where she could see the ocean that had nearly claimed her life. "Earth is not merely a death world," she dictated. "It is a crucible that forged humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. Where other species evolved to fit specific ecological niches, humans evolved to survive changing conditions. They don't simply endure their environment, they reshape it, adapt to it, and when necessary, defy its attempts to destroy them." She paused, watching human children playing in the garden, running, falling, getting up again with scraped knees, and renewed determination. The true appeal of Earth tourism is not the danger itself, but the opportunity to witness the species that transformed a hostile planet into a home. To see beings who evolved surrounded by death yet developed art, music, compassion, and joy. The human capacity to find beauty in a death world may be their most remarkable adaptation of all. On her final day on Earth, June brought unexpected news. "The Galactic Council made it official this morning," he said, showing her the announcement. On his device. "Earth has been designated the galaxy's first heritage death world." "What does that mean?" Hannah asked. "It means there are certain experiences the Council has deemed can only happen on Earth, and certain adaptations that could only have evolved here. They're limiting tourism to sustainable levels and establishing protections for human cultures." The announcement included quotes from Council representatives. "Earth presents a unique opportunity to observe evolutionary adaptations not found elsewhere in the galaxy. The protection of this world and its dominant species is now a matter of galactic importance." Hannah found herself oddly moved by this development. "So humans are no longer just an oddity. You're a treasure," June laughed. "I wouldn't go that far. But it's nice to be appreciated for something other than our ability to drink poison and play with predators." As they walked toward the spaceport where Hannah would board a vessel returning to her peaceful, predictable homeworld, she noticed something strange, a reluctance within herself. For all the dangers she had faced, for all the times her system had flashed warnings about Earth's hostile environment, she found herself hesitant to leave. "There's a term for what you're feeling," June said, noticing her pause as they reached the departure gate. "We call it adventure withdrawal. Happens to a lot of visitors." "I'm simply being thorough in my observations," Hannah insisted, though her internal systems registered emotional responses that contradicted her words. "Sure," June smiled. "But if you want my advice, and I've seen this a lot, you should come back, maybe next time without all the research equipment, just as a regular tourist." "To experience more danger?" Hannah asked. "To experience more life?" June corrected. "That's what we really sell here on Earth. Not danger, but a more vivid way of being alive. The knowledge that you can face something difficult and come through it changed." As her ship lifted away from Earth's gravity, Hannah looked down at the blue-green planet, beautiful and terrible, nurturing and deadly. Her final research note, added as Earth diminished to a bright point against the blackness of space, would become the most quoted line in her published findings. "The true wonder of Earth is not that it tried to kill its inhabitants, but that, in doing so, it taught them how to truly live." Some experiences can only happen on Earth, and perhaps some wisdom can only be gained there, on the Deathworld that somehow produced life in its most resilient and joyful form. 6 months later, Hannah submitted her request for a return visa. This time, her itinerary included something called whitewater rafting. After all, she reasoned, what better way to understand her research subject than to experience it firsthand? Some adaptations, it seemed, could be learned after all.